Next speaker is Illyoung Choi from CyVerse, and he's going to be talking about GoCommands, a cross-platform command line client for iRODS.
Hi, I'm Illyoung Choi from CyVerse, University of Arizona. In this presentation, I present a cross-platform command line client for iRODS called GoCommands. As we all know, iCommands is an official command line client. Binary distributions of iCommands are already available for some well-known Linux distros. iCommands provides users with data access functions. For example, users can create, delete, rename collections and data objects using iCommands. Also, iPod and iGet in iCommands provide high-performance data transfer by using parallel data transfer. iCommands also provide administrators with system control functions. For example, administrators can create or delete users or groups, tickets, and resource hierarchy. However, iCommands is not the best solution for particular users. iCommands are not available for users on some environments. For example, it is not available for users on relatively new Linux releases, such as Ubuntu 22.04, or on other Linux distros that have different versions of dependencies. On the systems, iCommands cannot install easily because of different versions of dependencies. iCommands currently does not support operating systems other than Linux. For example, it cannot run on Windows or macOS. iCommands currently does not support edge devices such as Raspberry Pi that usually have ARM CPUs. Building binaries from code by themselves might be an option, but it's not easy. Installation of iCommands also requires escalated privileges. To install iCommands, it requires some dependencies. So users also need to be a sudoer to install dependencies and iCommands. But it's not easy to obtain escalated privileges on institutional systems such as HPC or telescope control system, because they don't want to give you the privileges to change some system configuration. To address the issues in iCommands, we developed a cross-platform command line client called GoCommands. GoCommands re-implements many features in iCommands in Go programming language, which provides excellent cross-platform support. Also, GoCommands implements several new functions for user friendliness. We will discuss this later. Binary distributions of GoCommands are available for almost any system. Finally, GoCommands does not require any installation. Users can just download a GoCommand binary file and run it. It's just a single file with no shared libraries required. Therefore, it is perfect for using it on institutional systems where you cannot obtain escalated privileges easily. Here's a complete list of environments that GoCommands supports. The distribution of Linux works on the distribution for Linux system works on any Linux systems. So you can use it on recent versions of Linux distros like Ubuntu 22.04. Also, you can use a Linux ARM distributions on Amazon EC2 ARM instances or Raspberry Pi or NVIDIA Jetson embedded systems. You can also use GoCommands on Windows systems as well. I will show you a demo about that. And macOS is also supported. GoCommands supports both Intel and M1, M2 MacBooks as well. There are a lot of subcommands already implemented in GoCommands, similar to iCommands. There's init to create iCommands compatible configuration. I will show you about this later. And commands for data management, such as cd, ls, mv, cp, are also available. And there are get, put, bput, sync commands that you can use for parallel data transfer. Also, it has some new commands, such as copy SFTP ID things. These new features are kind of customized features for CyVerse. You can use this copy SFTP ID for to configure SFTP public key to data store for SFTP access. bput is a new command introduced to upload many small files more efficiently. This one can be also be achieved by using iCommands, but in manual series of bundle and put and extraction command. But bput does it everything automatically, but with more efficiently by automatically handling the parallel threads. We will also continue to add more user-friendly features in the future. Users can use JSON or YAML configuration files to configure GoCommands. If configuration files are not provided explicitly, GoCommands will prompt users to enter configuration at runtime. GoCommands also can read and write iCommands configuration file under .iRODS directory. So this allows users to easily switch their tool between GoCommands and iCommands when they need it. So the pictures on the right screen are the examples of the configuration. Here's a quick demo on Windows 10 system. EMB commands shows current environment, and ls is for listing iRODS data. Because I didn't put password in the configuration, it asks. And now it gets data in parallel with progress flag that displays progress bars. Because it already exists on the local file system, so it asks you about for overriding it, and then it displays progress bars here. Yeah, this was the demo. We implemented transfer optimizations for put and get commands. Unlike iCommands, put and get commands transfers data over 1247 ports in parallel, like how Python iRODS client does. By default, GoCommands creates a transfer at the file level. But for iRODS later than 4.2.9, it parallel transfers at the block level because iRODS later than 4.2.9 supports a new parallel data transfer API for upload. Files are first queued and sent to fixed length transfer thread pool. And then for a large file, it will have more blocks, so it will take up more threads. So more transfer threads are assigned for transferring a file. Then data are transferred to iRODS in parallel. So this process is the same for the download and upload. GoCommands also provides a new command bput that is for many small file transfer. It automatically bundles the small files into large files, then transfer to iRODS in parallel. Once the bundle file is successfully written on iRODS, GoCommands extract the bundle file on the server side. In this way, we were able to double the file transfer bandwidth for moving telescope data between Chile to CyVerse in Tucson. I will present this in the next slide. Here's another quick demo showing how download works. The same commands get is used, but this time it has more files, multiple files. Because the file is not that small, so it uses all the threads to download a single file. But eventually it's transferred in parallel anyway. Here's a demo, another demo about bput command for uploading many small files. This time we are going to upload 999 files. So yeah, we use a bput subcommand, and after some time figuring out where to submit the data, and it creates a lot of threads for removing all the bundle files and power bundling and uploading and extracting files. So extracting files take a lot of time for now because that is related to the database performance of CyVerse data store. Anyway, all threads work in parallel. So yeah, it's really improves the data upload performance. GoCommands also has a retry feature. Network error can occur in the middle of large data transfer. To continue the data transfer from the failure, we added retry flag. With the flag, GoCommands retries the transfer with given triers and a given interval. Also, you can perform differential data transfer with diff flag. You can use this flag for synchronizing large data or continue transfer from last failure. By default, the feature compares source and target files using MD5 hash that is used by a CyVerse data store. But if this is still too expensive for calculating the hash, you can give no hash option to compare file by size only. Our collaborator uses GoCommands to transfer large astronomic data between an observatory in Chile and CyVerse in Arizona, United States. Previously, the collaborator had to travel with a lot of hard disks to move the data back to Tucson. But now he can use GoCommands from the site. The network bandwidth between the observatory and the CyVerse was really bad. It had high latency. So we had to configure systems and GoCommands to use jumbo frames and larger TCP socket buffer. Also, the data had a lot of small files, so we implemented bput and gave it for more efficient data transfer. Finally, we were able to transfer the data at roughly 20 to 25 megabytes per second. So that was quite good. Another University of Arizona research team is using GoCommands to transfer aerial image data of forest. The team uses drones to capture forest images and use GoCommands to transfer the data to CyVerse data store from the field using cellular network. They use MacBook, so iCommands did not work on the laptop, so the GoCommands was their available option. They also use GoCommands to move data between CyVerse data store and their compute clusters in CyVerse discovery environment or Jetstream 2. They use apps run on Ubuntu 22.04, so iCommands did not work well for their setup, so they used GoCommands and they satisfied with it. We also added GoCommands to our featured app in discovery environment as a default iRODS command line client. Users of CyVerse discovery environment mostly use data transfer commands only to move their data around. So we provide GoCommands as a substitution of iCommands. iCommands did not work well with some apps because the apps required some recent distros of Linux. So GoCommands addressed this issue well. This graph shows data transfer performance of GoCommands and iCommands. Overall, GoCommands showed a little reduced performance compared to iCommands. This is because iCommands transfers files directly between local machine and remote iRODS resource server that actually stores the requested data. However, GoCommands transfers data via iCat, so transfer performance somewhat decreased. Interestingly, GoCommands on Windows system showed a little better performance than on Linux for upload, and it produced a contradictory result for download. We need to figure out why this happened, because the source code is the same. As the future work, we will address some known issues to make it more stable and usable. And we want to support the new iRODS releases coming out. We will also add new commands that will be useful for our collaborators, like changing ACLs or changing AVUs. Lastly, we will keep work on performance optimizations. GoCommands is an open source project, so you can find it at the GitHub repository. If you have any questions or bug to report, then please use GitHub issues. And pull request is always welcome. To conclude, we deployed GoCommands that is cross-platform command line client. It works on almost any systems, requires no installation. It provides parallel data transfer features and failover features as well. GoCommands is already deployed in production, and it is used by our collaborators actively. Thank you for listening, and any questions?
Thanks, Illyoung. Illyoung, do we have any questions?
1 second. Yeah.
Do we have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
So when you mentioned that the GoCommands were being deployed on drones, I don't know if you mentioned this, so sorry if I missed it. Is that being run through scripts or something like that? I'm just interested because it's a CLI, binary.
No, actually the researcher downloads the image data from drone to laptop first. I mean, laptop is MacBook Pro, and then on the field, he transfers data from laptop to CyVerse data store using GoCommands.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Got a question in the back? Yes.
Okay. Mustafa had another question. You said that no dependency is needed. I tried the GoCommands client on different Linux platforms and Windows, but I got a quote error, failed to get iRODS FS client. end quote. What does that mean?
Sorry, I think you did not select the right distro, I guess. Actually, it's just a single binary file and it should work. And it does not require any dependencies. I think you went wrong in some way. You can, yeah, we can talk about that later, but yeah, actually it doesn't have any dependencies.
All right. Okay. Yeah, you can, so you guys, you're both in Slack, so you can have a conversation there and people can join in. I also have a question. You mentioned retries on failed uploads. When this occurs and you want to retry, does it start from the beginning or does it pick up from where it left off?
Yeah, with the retry feature, when the GoCommands crashes with network failure or something, then actually it creates a lot of sub processes. I mean, it creates a sub process to for the GoCommands and then monitors its activities. And if it crashes or fails for some reason, then it recreates the process, a child process, and then rerun it. But this time with it gives a differential data transfer, so it continues from the failure.
Great.
So this is Terrell. Why is bput necessary? Why can't put just know that it needs to do cool stuff and do the cool stuff?
Yeah, in the morning, I believe Tony Edigin also mentioned about that, but uploading many small files is not that good for iRODS because it takes 20 times longer time for doing that. I mean the many means not just tens or hundreds. Meaning more than thousands. So for every small file, you create a new connection perhaps, or it incurs a lot of iRODS APIs call. So it takes a longer time, and bandwidth is not fully used for doing that. So having big files are much more efficient for doing that. So the bput is for doing that. So it automatically bundles the small files into a big one using tar, and then extracts the file in the server side so that transfer becomes more efficient.
Yes, but why can't put just know that it has 1,000 files to do and then just go into bput mode?
Oh yeah, we can do that actually, but I separated it to to distinguish those two. And then actually the sync function is kind of umbrella command that automatically decide which command it will use internally. So that's why I introduced the sync function.
Got it. That makes sense. Thanks.
All right, we have one more question.
Yeah, I have a question. And this is back to your question, Corey. The failover, is that when you're doing multiple files and it just does a differential for the files that failed, or is it differential within the file itself?
Oh yeah, this one does not currently support a differential data transfer in the file.
Okay, that's the correct answer because I wasn't sure how that would work with S3. So.
Oh yeah, but we are going to support that one in the future. It's in plan.
Okay, well, if you do, please test it on S3 as well.
All right.